Welcome to Our Village Circle, a podcast centered around authentic sharing, honest storytelling, and elevating the voices of parents and professionals alike to demystify the realities of new parenthood. We understand on a visceral level that with the joy of your new human also comes every other emotion under the sun. We want you to feel seen, heard, known, and held in this life-altering stage. We wholeheartedly believe that everyone's story has something powerful to offer others as they navigate their own journey. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our sneak peek for season 1 of the Our Village Circle podcast. I'm your host, Jaylee Turner. I'm a mom to a busy toddler, and I also have another one on the way. By trade, I'm a musician, a yoga instructor, and a newly trained doula and childbirth educator. So 2 years ago, I'd done a lot of preparation for my birth, and I'd done a lot of research about pregnancy and what my body was doing, and I was completely enamored with that, but I hadn't really planned to do any research on postpartum recovery until the very last weeks of my pregnancy. So when my son George came earlier than expected, postpartum hit me like a ton of bricks. I found myself scrambling and feeling as though I was the only one who didn't have it all together. I had no clue how to ask for what I needed. Honestly, half the time I didn't even know what I needed. But I listened to a lot of podcasts during that time. I've always been a huge podcast lover, but most of what I could find was either related to information about birth or baby care, and there just wasn't a whole lot out there that affirmed what I was going through. Honestly, all I wanted was to hear from someone who had been there and was really willing to talk about what it was like for them. I felt incredibly alone, and it wasn't until 7 months postpartum that I was able to get help for the anxiety that I was experiencing. And when I started putting my experience into words, I found out that I wasn't alone. I wasn't the only one experiencing this. And I was surprised because of the way that the people around me talked about parenthood and talked about being a new mom. It was just totally different than what the realities of it were. It wasn't until 15 months postpartum that I finally found the correct help. And I learned that what I was experiencing was actually postpartum PTSD and OCD, which is one of the lesser known perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. And honestly, getting the correct help made such a huge difference. I made more progress in 3 weeks than I had the entire 6 months that I had been receiving help prior. So this first season of Our Village Circle is dedicated to sharing stories from parents who have been through that labyrinth of pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and they have their own experiences and perspectives that will hopefully help new parents feel understood as they walk their own journeys. We'll also hear from professionals in the birth and postpartum worlds who share their expertise with those walking the journey and those walking alongside them. We have a fantastic lineup of guests, and I sincerely hope that you enjoy listening to them as much as I did. This podcast is for anyone who is in their own perinatal journey or knows someone who is or is about to embark on that journey and wants to know how to support them. I hope these conversations are able to spark something within you, whether it be affirmation, urge to advocate for yourself or someone else, or simply wanting to reach out to someone in the trenches. Feel free to follow us, like us, and share this podcast with anyone that you feel may need it. We're on Instagram and Facebook at Our Village Circle, and our website is www.ourvillagecircle.com. So here's a preview of a few of my favorite moments from this season.
And I said, "Is that what I think it is?" And she said, "There are triplets. You're having triplets." And I launched into this profanity-laced rant. I don't even know what I was saying. I was so shocked.
I'm a big mantra and affirmation person. And one of the things that did help me when I was struggling was writing things down. And I would just write down, I am strong, I am capable, I am loved, you're okay, you've got this, just breathe. At some point I was like, oh, I should just put this on the baby. Like, I'm seeing him all the time. Moms are struggling, parents are struggling, and all we're putting on these babies is, I'm the cutest.
I have a genuine love and compassion for new parents.
It just feels like such a blessing to be able to get involved with families, and especially when you get to a point where you've caught several of their babies, it just feels like such a beautiful blessing.
Society tells you that it should be pretty easy to get pregnant, especially our generation. How many of us were put on birth control as teenagers just in case? And you live this life of tiptoeing and hoping that it works. And then once you actually want to go for it and it doesn't work, it seems like you're cheated.
I will tell you that from firsthand experience, there may be a really good big study that came out that talks about how we should be doing something differently, but it's going to take a long time before that big study then translates into a change in the way the doctors who I'm working with change their practice, and then also a change with the policy. You need to be in a position where your provider is making good decisions with you instead of just telling you.
Yeah.
It's unrealistic for society as a whole to just expect this whole bounce back agenda. It drives me crazy.
And it was like one of those things where when I talked about my struggles, the response would be, you look great.
Oh, super dismissive.
Yeah, it completely glossed over all of the seismic shifts that were happening.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole, you don't even look like you had a baby. And do you think that's my goal? Do you think that's my focus right now? Like, I feel like I had a baby. Do you want to see my vagina?
Eventually there's going to be some really beautiful music that will start playing, and the light is going to shine through the window, and it's going to be this perfect moment, and I'm going to love you immediately. And that just, yeah, you just wait, and then they like poop and you're like, okay, I guess that wasn't this moment.
That joyful feeling comes at different times for different people.
Mm-hmm.
For someone, it may happen immediately when the baby's born. And then for other people, it may not be until the baby smiles for the first time, or says mama, or laughs for the first time. And all of it is okay.
It was a long cycle of wrapping my head around what I had planned for my life to be and then what my life was going to be.
I felt really scared of all of those intrusive thoughts and all these emotions that I had just never felt before. I think for me, the depression felt familiar, but more than anything, the thing that really scared me, the longer I went on with my PMADs untreated, was the rage. I knew that I needed help, but I hadn't taken the step to do it yet. I think another big piece of not wanting to get help was because I was really scared to say all of these things in my head out loud.
If anyone's listening to this, like, it is okay for you not to have the hardest pregnancy ever, or the hardest outcome for your family, or go through infant loss, or whatever the case may be, and to still not be in a good headspace. You don't have to be at the extreme of what motherhood could look like in order to need help.
The last thing that new parents need is guilt.
I think I can speak for most parents that we carry enough guilt.
When COVID hit and we all got put on the stay-at-home orders and we were all home, it was a very familiar feeling to me.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone who is really struggling with cabin fever and isolation and not being able to get out of the house and anything, just know that every day postpartum women are going through this.
Yep.
The entire world is now experiencing the life of a postpartum parent.
What I needed in that moment was somebody at my side to explain what was happening. What just happened? Like, where am I? What room am I in? What floor in this hospital am I on? There were no windows in my room. Like, where am I? And I'm by myself, and I had no clue what I was doing. I called her and I was like sobbing into the phone, like, I need to see my kids. They are in their second day of life and I have not seen them. This is not okay. And she just got me out of bed. She's like, and they were like, she is her blood pressure. And she was like, it is important for her to go and see her kids.
When we talk about maternal mental health and we talk about birth trauma, the birth mortality rate, and all of that, we really need to recognize how disproportionately that's affecting people that are not white, because those efforts get whitewashed so often.
I would really like to get to a point socially where you're at a party and someone says, I'm having my scheduled C-section next week because my baby's too big. And everyone goes, oh, okay, I understand. And then the person next to them says, oh, I'm going to have a home birth next week. And everyone's, oh my gosh, why would you do that? Why would you put your baby in danger? And have that conversation flip to the point where, I don't mean to say that one's not acceptable, one is, but to have it just be a part of normal birth. You know, to have it be more a part of normal birth than interventive birth.
I was totally fine having a C-section because I had never known any other option for myself.
Right.
So I don't regret that at all. I never really had an opinion on how my babies should be born. I just wanted them to be healthy. So I had no reservations about it. It was a really positive experience, just the birth in general, and just the sound of hearing his cry. And after just what had felt like a marathon for about 7 months that I was able to be pregnant, it was just amazing to, oh my God, I really did it. They're here.
And someone came to talk about pelvic floor physical therapy, and she was like when you pee your pants, when you cough and sneeze, you don't have to do that. And I said, or just when you're standing in your kid feel it happen. And I thought that I would get a lot of knowing, like normalizing it. And everyone looked at me like, no, that doesn't happen to me.
My babies were born because of an IUI, but that doesn't make them unnatural to me. I conceived them, I carried them, and I gave birth to them with the help of some amazing physicians. That's what it took to get us here. It's what it took to keep us safe. I was cool with it. I was like, hey guys, we're going to have a party in here.
I can say with every essence of my being and a full heart that we have to see clients in person. I think we're going to look back at statistics for 2020 and see that there really was an uptick in postpartum complications because you cannot do a virtual postpartum visit. You cannot. And the standard of care in our area is still to just see moms at 6 weeks. And a lot of those moms are virtual. And that just breaks my heart. You're going to miss emotional challenges. You're going to miss physical issues, poor healing. There's so many things that you actually have to be with a person to assess.
If I'm dealing with postpartum anxieties and I'm trying to work on breastfeeding and an infant that won't sleep or latch properly, or the dishes and the pump parts piling up in the sink may push me over the edge, you may have one really good day, and that's great. Unfortunately, postpartum is just not designed to continue that great trend, because it's inevitable that your baby's going to hit a growth spurt. You're not going to sleep one night. Your toddler's going to be acting out. Your partner's going to return to work. You're going to miss a shower. You're going to miss laundry one day. You're going to have to fix dinner. And one day you're going to have it all lined up.
I was always experiencing borrowed worry. I was always worrying about a problem that didn't belong to me. I was worrying about the future. I was worrying about future Sarah's problem, future Sarah's stress, future Sarah's sleep, be it an hour in the future or a year in the future.
We have to give birthing people so much grace, because from the moment you get pregnant, you have a hormone that is doubling every single day to keep your baby growing, alive, safe. And this number doubles and doubles. It levels out in the second trimester, but your body chemistry is changing over 9 months to grow a whole human, like an entire person. And then your body goes through an entire hormonal process to kick that baby out of your body. And then within 2 days, your estrogen and your progesterone levels are at menopausal levels. And all of a sudden, your hormonal balance has to recalibrate from having grown a baby for 9 months to that baby is now on the outside and I've got to figure out what the hell I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And there's a whole soup of hormones.
It's bonkers. It's just absolutely bonkers.
Right. And so, of course, maybe some women, their bodies are struggling with that. Yeah. And I think like it's not a maternal deficit. It is a chemical process that is really difficult. That's the number one thing that I felt like I needed during that time. Just validation that, yes, this is hard.
Yeah.
Validation that, yes, my needs matter and I matter as a person independent of my baby.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's funny because when you're saying that, it just makes me think also, we don't only just need that in the postpartum period, we need it in pregnancy too.
That's it for now, but join us on Thursday, January 21st for the release of episode 1, where I interview Allison Coleman, a toddler mom from Baltimore, Maryland, and the owner of Joey Faru, a baby apparel brand dedicated to supporting and encouraging newly postpartum parents. This was a fantastic conversation, and I can't wait to share it with you all. See you soon. Bye-bye.